Alright, hello everybody and welcome to Mr. Coaster Swag. This is my first video on this channel. I was really excited to start making videos. I've been a coaster enthusiast for quite a while now, for a few months. I've been traveling the country a little bit riding coasters, so I decided that for my first video I would talk about one of the parks that I had the opportunity to visit this year, and that would be Kings Dominion in Doswell, Virginia. I visited this park in two separate occasions and had a chance to ride pretty much all the rides. So I'm really excited to, just go into the rankings and do this tier list. So I'll first start off talking about the way I'm doing this ranking. I'm following a really similar format to what Coaster Evolution does. He does like kind of a 10-point scale, but he groups it into different subcategories. So you can kind of read here. So anything that's like perfect, and I really love this ride. I find pretty much like no flaws with the ride, I'll put as perfect. Something with like maybe one major flaw or a few minor flaws, I'll put as elite. Great would be something that I just love riding, but it's not quite, what I would call one of the best coasters I've ever ridden. Good is something, I enjoy, but it's just not something about it is wrong. It's not quite there yet. Okay is just, it's all right. I'll ride it. I'll get the credit, but nothing special. An awful ride is something that I genuinely hate and never want to ride again. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So Reptilian. This is a mock bobsled coaster, I believe, and I rode this back in March. And this is a pretty fun coaster. They did a retheme of the whole old like avalanche coaster. And actually kind of enjoyed this ride, but honestly at the end of the day the ride forces just weren't there, and so I'm going to put it in the okay tier. It's about a 5 out of 10 for me. Again, it's a fun ride, but it's it's not something that I want to re-ride every time I'm at the park. And next we have a ride that is great, and I love riding this ride. I usually get 1 or 2 laps on this every time. This is Dominator. This is an amazing B&M floorless coaster. It's very long, it's very fast, has great pacing. The elements do hold it back a little bit. I think the elements are great, but not quite elite or perfect. It's missing a 0G roll, and it's missing, just what I would consider like an elite floorless element. So that's why I put it at only great. Next is Flight of Fear. I think this ride is okay. I mean, I would say it's actually good. About a 6 or 7 out of 10. I think probably more leaning towards 7. I think it's very fast. It has a good launch, but it's nothing like crazy. It's just missing something for me. I think it could be a little more forceful. It meanders around a lot, and in the dark, this is kind of cool. But if you take it out of the box, you kind of realize how slow it's going. I've ridden a very similar version at Six Flags America. That'll be in a future video. And this is just it's a good ride. It's very solid. It has a nice handful of inversions. But nothing too crazy. Next is Woodstock Express. This is a pretty standard, just family wooden coaster. I'm gonna put it in the okay. I liked it. It's pretty fun. You get like a little bit of airtime with those single position lap bars, but nothing too crazy. Same thing goes with Apple's Apple. I would put this right in between Reptilian and Woodstock Express. It's an alright, Wild Mouse. It's pretty standard. Nothing too crazy there. I like Reptilian a little more just for the theming and the kind of unique feel, but Apple's pretty standard. Backlot Stunt Coaster. Now, I actually really like this coaster. It's very good for a family coaster. It's a family launch coaster. One of these old Premier models. They have a few clones of these. It's just very fun. It's nothing crazy. I feel like it's like Flight of Fear, but much more mild. It has an indoor section, which I really like. It has a little bit of theming. The effects were kind of working for me. The audio was and the fire was, but I don't think it was fully working the way it was supposed to. But yeah, it's a pretty solid ride. I'd give it about, again, a 6 or a 7, probably more around a 7. This is Great Pumpkin Coaster. I can't get this credit because for some reason Cedar Fair does not let adults ride these kiddie coasters without their kids, so unfortunate. Alright, now we've reached the point where I'm going to get into one of my most controversial opinions ever. I think I-305 is very, very overrated. Intimidator 305, for those of you guys who don't know, it's a Giga coaster made by Intamin. People call it the most intense coaster of all time. People say it's crazy, and I did gray out on it. It's a very intense coaster. And it does have a great sense of speed. It has a lot of snappy transitions, but the airtime is not really there. There's like one good airtime moment, and the rest, there's like, I think there's 3 camelbacks, and the second camelback is trimmed to death. It hits, and it hits really hard. You get 0 airtime on that, and that causes you to have 0 airtime on the 3rd airtime hill too. So the only airtime you get is actually on the first airtime hill, but you're kind of like blacked out while you're doing it. So I just don't get that part. Again, I appreciate the ride for what it is. It's very, very relentless. The transitions and the speed are actually insane. And the first drop has really, really good sustained ejector, and I really appreciate that. Although it does feel kind of fast, but I just can't give this ride a perfect score. I think people really overrate this thing. I think it's a little better than Dominator. It's pretty great. So I'm just going to put it in the elite category because that's where I think it is. I think it is an elite coaster, but people really overrate this thing, calling it one of the best or one of the... it is intense, but I'm sure it's one of the most intense, but it's just not that amazing. Now, going back to another coaster, this is a Racer 75, and I actually really like this coaster. I would say it's a very good coaster. I wouldn't say it's great. It lacks, it lacks a little bit of airtime. I mean, it has airtime moments, but it's nothing crazy. But it's very fun. It's surprisingly smooth for an old wooden coaster, and it has that dueling factor going for it too. Although I will say it didn't duel when I was there. They were only running the left side, I believe. So that was unfortunate, but just a very, very fun, smooth, re-rideable wooden coaster that I really enjoy. Now, I did get the opportunity to ride Grizzly, and they retracked this pretty recently. They did a Gravity Group retrack, and honestly, I thought the Gravity Group retrack did wonders for the first half of the ride. Unfortunately, they didn't do a full retrack, and those bits are horrible, like straight up awful. And I really hate it. But the good parts are really, really good. And I would give it like a 7, almost an 8. It's a very, very fun wooden coaster for the first half. That drop is amazing. Some of the craziest airtime I've ever had on a wooden coaster. Just very, very fun. But yeah, beyond that, unfortunately, I do think it is held back by the second half. So I'd give it, again, I'm averaging it out. So, an average between like a 3 and an 8. So I'll give it like a pretty solid 6. I just wish Gravity Group goes in and redoes the second half, because that would make it so good. Tumbili, I think this is okay. I think Grizzly is pretty, a lot better than this, but I do think this is better than Reptilian, and I would give it about a 6. Pretty low 6, but still a 6 nonetheless. It's a very fun, SNS 40 free spin. You get a few flips. I got like 3 flips on my first one, and that was insane. But I rode it like 2 more times, and I only got like 1 flip or like half a flip on those, so not as good. But it's pretty fun, and it does have some nice flipping when you do it properly. I think it's just dependent on the weight distribution. And this is going to be my second controversial take of the video, I think, which is Anaconda. I think this is way better than what people give it credit for. I would put it, I think, right in front of Backlot Stunt Coaster. I liked it more than Backlot, but I don't think it's as good as Flight of Fear. It's just a very solid looper. I'm kind of a sucker for these. I really like Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain, so when I did this coaster, I really enjoyed it. I think it's very fun. The first drop into the tunnel underwater is awesome. And then the first loop, and then I think there's a Batwing or something like that, the second element, also really fun. And in the second half, you get some really fun hang time. So very underrated. I will say it does run a little bit rough sometimes. It's not like the roughest coaster I've ever ridden. It's not that bad, like not Grizzly second half level bad, but it is a little bit shaky, so that's why it's not, higher up. Otherwise, I'd probably put an 8, to be honest. And then finally, this is probably going to come as a surprise to no one, but I'm going to give Twisted Timbers a perfect 10. This is probably one of the best coasters I've ever ridden. I remember getting off my first time, and I was like, dude, that is insane. I need to do it again, because those 3 camelbacks, you get some insane airtime on those, and the rest of the layout too is just phenomenal. It's just airtime, inversion, and it's just amazing. It's absolutely relentless. I think the pacing is pretty phenomenal. I think in the cold morning it's not as good, but with a full train, you know, like in the hot afternoon, dude, this thing hauls and it's absolutely insane. This was I think this was my like second #1 coaster ever after Twisted Colossus. Twisted Colossus was previously my #1. And then I rode this and my mind was blown. I don't think enough people talk about this coaster because it's kind of a mid-size RMC and gets overshadowed by like Wazzy and Steve and stuff. But man, this thing is absolutely insane. So yeah, that's my tier list. You know, again, I have a few controversial things in here. Most people would put, you know, i305 in perfect. I wouldn't. And most people will probably rank Anaconda in awful, but I'm going to leave it here. And yeah, I think the rest of my opinions are, you know, pretty standard, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'll leave a link to this in the comments below if you guys want to create your own tier list. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. You know, it's just my opinion at the end of the day. And yeah, I really love this park, really love Kings Dominion. They have a great lineup of coasters. Unfortunately, you know, most of them are good and not great, so they could do with some help in that area. I think having a replacement for Volcano would go a long way. But yeah, really like this park, really enjoyed it. So all right, have a good one, and thanks for watching the video, everyone.